the back and sew a suit for you. But at least we see some decorum. You want to emulate them. If your child is watching them, you are happy that there's no nudiness and things. This day and age, the more the star you become, the more nude you become. And I think it is something we should check. And we should check it faster than it is, because it's destroying most of it. Role models. One of the things I really spoke to Ebony about when I met her is that a lot of young ladies and young men love her, but she checked her dress. And I was really strong on that. And I say this thing passionately to everybody in the industry. The way you dress matters a lot, because a lot of people are taking inspiration from you, and you have to be a good model by the way you present yourself, because years down the line, we are watching the real thing now, and there's nothing we can see it. The Sheikh and the man of God, we are watching it and we are very comfortable. I don't think it was nudity or that nakedness. You would have shown that to us and even dedicated to us. It would have been an insult to us. So please, those of you in the industry, be very careful and mindful. The language you speak, the language that is spoken and is printed, and also the way you dress matters a lot. My father says you are dressed by the way you dress. And it doesn't have to be too flamboyant, but make sure you are decently dressed enough that at every occasion, the way you even present yourself matters. And you realize that those people stayed very long. They lived very long because of the way they present themselves. And they were present before kings, the queens, the leaders, the royal family. They traveled as far as Australia. The real thing at the time spent almost 7 weeks in Australia, because they were at the invitation of the leadership and they liked the way they presented themselves. So congratulations, Kafui.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheikh. Good to see you.
Mass attraction to indecency does not make indecency decent.
Wow.
That is the quote of the day. Say it again.
Mass attraction to indecency does not make indecency decent. Decency is beauty, really. If you want real beauty, that stands the test of time. It lies in decency. That's why in every language, every religion, every culture, yes, they have a certain standard for decent behavior. You know, how people dress. The king, if you're really king, there's a way he dresses. A queen mother, there's a way she dresses. The director at an office, a certain standard of decency is expected. If you are a president, there's a certain decency expected of you, even the way you speak. So decency is an essential standard. You know, for anybody, even in the political realm, for any young person today who aspires to be a politician tomorrow, must watch the way he speaks and behaves now. Because even as I sit here now, I look around, every person who wants to become a president, I look at him in the past.
That's right.
What are the things that we have seen about that person? So if, as a young man, you want to become our president, but all that you have seen, even in the way that you dress today, sets you apart as somebody who is not decent. If you are a young woman, the same. You know, like these young people who put their belts below
sea level.
You know, I mean, you see, there's nothing beautiful about it, but because it has become the standard, though it doesn't look decent, but it has become the standard.
So they say they have a right to feel free.
Yeah, but be careful of unbridled and unconstrained freedom.
Yes.
Unbridled and unconstrained freedom. And check the world all over, whether there is anywhere where you can find true freedom, unlimited. So people must be careful when we talk about freedom, but decency, like Reverend said, is something that is beautiful, and we must maintain the beautiful standard.
Let me add to what Sheikh rightly said. Sheikh, people don't realize that a lot of times, even on panels, the way you dress determine whether you're accepted or not.
Yeah.
I have sat on panels, and as soon as the gentleman or the lady steps in, I look at your hairstyle and look at the way you are dressed, and I think you don't deserve what you want. And sometimes you say we are prejudiced, but it's not so. If you don't become a leader that lead exemplary life, you cannot have a better influence on people. And it's happening in our schools now. In fact, one of the things I'll be talking to later today is about education, but after this segment. We should be very careful and make sure that we are decently dressed enough for people to be attracted to us. Kafui, look at the way we sat today outside just before we entered, and the way we spoke nicely down. And let me congratulate the Director General of GBC. I like the way he stood to shake us today to congratulate us and to thank us for coming here. I mean, for me, this is worth millions. The Director General didn't have anything to get up early this morning to come and stand at the entrance to wait for Lawrence Tetteh and Sheikh Aremeyaw to congratulate and to thank us for the sacrifices we do to come and sit here. Of course, not many of our colleagues, not many sheikhs in his caliber, not many ministers, preachers who maybe might even be younger than me in ministry would sacrifice to come. But the fact that he shows appreciation, and this is something that I think is missing in our community. Not many people show appreciation. So any of you who can get hold of the Director General of GBC, tell him we also thank him for coming to show us that love. Sheikh, no be so.
Yeah, I mean,
thank him. We thank him for also showing that it is not just us coming to sit in GBC every early morning on Thursdays to speak, but he appreciates. And he said even he liked the diversity.
Yeah. I mean, the symbolism. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's very important.
Oh, thank you for your thoughts. Just a quick note on the music that we were listening to before we got in by The Real Thing, You To Me Everything. So this lead singer of Ghanaian heritage, and the group is still active.
Yes.
It was formed in 1970 when Chris Amu, was 18 years old.
That's right.
And with his elder brother and other members, the group is still performing. They released an album last year, 2022. That's right. 52 years.
Are they still at Liverpool?
Yes, I know he was born in Liverpool, yes. as you
but
said.
The group itself started in Liverpool.
Yes, exactly. And they're still touring, they're still performing, they're still recording. 52 years after they started. So that's longevity right there. It's serious, yeah. Okay, may your career also be long and fruitful. I was reading yesterday about George Foreman, the former heavyweight champion. And he's still working. He needs to earn a living at his age. You know, he's over 70.
Wow.
Yes, he's still working. Yeah, please. It's important.
I was in the stadium where he fought with Muhammad Ali.
Rumble in the Jungle.
Yes, in Kinshasa.
Yeah.
And that stadium is still, in fact, the Kinshasa stadium is one of the biggest in the world. If I'm not exaggerating, it's almost 4 times the size of Accra Sports Stadium.
Wow.
It's huge. And the story there about Muhammad Ali and George Foreman still lives on, even many years down the line. You go to Kinshasa, it's one of the things they take pride in. But I'd rightly agree with you. George Foreman, even in his old age, even when he was 50 years old, he still went back to a ring.
Yeah.
And for me, that is consistency. That is somebody who doesn't give up. I think most of us will retire too early. And that is one issue that as a nation we need to check. The age at which we bring people to retirement. A lot of young men, 60-year-old men, 40-year-old young ladies who have come to retirement, and all those brains have been drained. I wonder why at 70 years we should retire some of our judges. Because if you look at most of the judges we have, they have brains. And having come from the US, I was in the US just last 2 weeks before I went back to the UK. You see that some of the judges, old judges, are the ones that are really, they've got ideas, they've got experience. And so they don't necessarily have to be as running like us. But we shouldn't let those bring down. And look at it. Look at Georgina Wood. The brain is very active. Look at Sophia Kufu. The brain is still alive. There's a gentleman called Amono Money. He was an appeal court judge. And Amono Money is 90 years old.
Wow.
But when you speak to him, he called me yesterday. He was able to tell me the date of all my children's birth, Barbara's birthday, my birthday. When he began to recount, so God, this man should not be sitting at home. I'm on no money at 90 years. Should be giving some job to do. Yeah. So please, let's consider it.
Oh yeah, last week I had an interview with Mr. Jolate,
Yes.
96, and he was telling me about events in the 60s when Real Madrid came to Ghana to play against the Black Stars. He was in commentary position. He was telling me about that.
Yeah,
he was telling me about Engelbert versus Protocol in the 70s. He has a
Jolate.
I had a chat with him. I had a beautiful chat. 2 hours I spent with him.
Oh, I envy you.
He's still, and talking about working, he says he wants to organize a course for commentators.
Yes.
He wants to actually train them. So he's 96, you know. He's writing, he's doing public speaking training, he's still advising people. So once you're alive,
I mean,
and you are healthy, you thank God.
And we shouldn't politicize it. You know, the problem I have with successive governments, NDC, MPB, CP, whatever, is that we retire certain people based on their political lineage. And it destroys the nation. There are a lot of people today who are giving contracts 2 years and under 2 years contract. Some people to the day of your birth, on the 60th birthday, you know your things have been packed for you already. And so we lose the experience, we lose the strategies, we lose the people who can, and because of that, they are not able to play consultancy role. So please let us, the formulators, let's not throw people away. You can imagine myself and Sheikh now, the energy we have. If you put us as pensioners, we've lost it because there's so much we can do to, and some of us are very exuberant, so we have some energy still. I want to be like Sheikh, who doesn't put on weight. His stomach is always at its right space, and so
if he knows how I'm also struggling to add fat.
My wife said, Barbara said today, you see, you can, your stomach is kind of shake stomach. I said, Barbara, is that the only thing you saw?
Anytime I see people on the ball, I feel envious. How, oh God.
I took Roxy so this.
Gentlemen, it's awesome. Before we even continue, today is 22nd June. Today would have been the birthday of President Rawlings, 76, 1947, yeah. So it's 76 today.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your abiding memory of President Rawlings?
Oh, Rawlings, shot up into the, our political listing during the early revolution when I was, pretty young also. One of the things that I still remember and really appreciate him for is the courage to what he believed by way of his principle. When he said that he alone must be held responsible for the May 15 uprising. I could remember the picture as I saw him looking as lanky as I look. At the time, the military cap was drawn to his forehead this way and with his dark at the time. And so the courage is to bear the responsibility at the time. It meant that if it meant death at the time, he stood in for it. And for me, that was a mark, because courage, foolhardiness is something else, but courage is a virtue. The courage to be able to speak the right thing at the right time and to stand for principles and to pay the price for it. Secondly, those principles he's been espousing, we may not have achieved them, but they are matters of conscience that no community in the world or nation in the world that aspires to be great that can dispense of those. And allowing them those virtues and values to be eroded spells doom for every country, every nation in the world. And that is probity, accountability, transparency, honesty, truth. These are things the lips of Chairman Rawlings Excellency former President Rawlings was moist all the time with these things. You may fault him for whatever, but that they still remain germane principles that are needed. Yes, and today, this same principle find expression in some of our, corruption things that we want to fight, and we find them coming. Before he died, he was an icon in our country. Indeed, he was one of the most eminent personalities in our country that every eminent visitor that came to this country had to pay him a visit. His counsel was sought for, his wisdom was sought for. Before he died, the country had come to agree that he had a store of experience that the country could tap into. And so he was such an eminent person. And you see him, the charisma he exuded, how he was able to capture the mind and the spirit and the energies of young people of the time to carry cocoa, and he himself was seen. We need a certain kind, and then also, you see, sometimes the higher you go, if you have the feeling of those who are below, you come down to their level. So in leadership, you must exhibit true humility, that you can live at the standard of the lowest of the low. And so sometimes you have seen people say it was populist, but he gave a certain example. He came to Nima, he went into the drain, the filth with the local people. He went into the filth and the gutter. We saw him at Nima, at Circle, during one of the terrible floods that we saw. In the daily graphic of the day, we saw his picture. He looked so tall and stout, and the water was knee deep. He stood knee deep at Circle here, and held his waist and looked pensively far into the future. I can remember, I have the memory of those pictures, as thinking, how could I deal with this issue? How could I deal? Can you imagine, if our presence today also rain falls and he goes into a drain and say, wow, I share the plight of these people. How can I deal with this issue once and for all? So, we cannot but to remember him for, like I said, he's not a perfect human being. Like I know myself, I am not. Yes, I might have my faults somewhere.
We are not.
But at least the impact and the imprints, and like I said the last time, you see, in our life, as we live along, we make inscriptions into the scrolls of our lives. And today he's no more. And I have an opportunity to say this. If he was notorious or popular for the bad reasons, those things will still be said. But at least we look at the major part of his life and what he left. Our democracy today, you may fault him, all right, but our democracy goes back to him when he decided as a military man to say, look, let me allow power to go, let me let out the power to go, and give the democracy chance for others also to come in. So we must remember him for some good reasons, and hope that he will still remain an inspiration for both young and the old.
All right. Sheikh, thank you very much. What's your memory? I know you were a revolution child. Reverend Dr. Tetteh.
Kafui, we should not throw the policy and the legacy of Rawlings away. Like Sheikh rightly said, we should never, as a people, because of political reasons, throw the legacy of Rawlings away. In the history of Ghana, the longest ever head of state we've had was Jerry John Rawlings, Aremeyaw John Rawlings. Most people don't know that it's Jeremiah. The Jerry is Aremeyaw. The decisions he took made us all realize he was a people's person. And for me, this is regardless of our political color. We have an issue in Ghana that we must pray that God help us deal with. We don't know how to celebrate our heroes until they die. And I think one of the most embarrassing situations I had for both NDC and NPP and all stakeholders and political practitioners in Ghana was when Rawlings died, where everybody wanted to show how much they love him. When the man was alive, they did not show him that. I remember very well, and you can quote me anywhere. I went to visit President Rawlings. I have this attitude of no Ghana president will say I've not visited them their house before. Nobody. President Kafui, President Nanado, I've been to all their houses. President John Mahama. There's one thing that I've always believed in. There's a gentleman called Billy Graham in America. I like the way he related to all political leaders in America. So it's one thing I've always loved. And sometimes you're attacked, but that's okay. So I went to visit President Rawlings. Myself, Pastor Atu Roxon, and Dr. Abed Kiche. Dr. Abed Kiche became the Ghana Honorary Consul General in Ukraine. And he helped during the war. And so we went to the President, Pastor Marlon, and we started singing. You know, Papa J likes songs, so we started singing. We started singing, and then he liked it. One of the songs he liked is "My Faith Has Found a Resting Place, Not in Device nor Creed. I trust the ever living one. His wounds for me sharply." The second verse he lifted up his hand. "I need no other argument. I need no other plea. It is enough that Jesus died and that he died for me." You know, Papa J is a proper Catholic man, but he liked the Jama. When I finished, he said something that shocked me. He said he never thought he would live up to 70 years. I can never forget that thing. And Pastor Atu Roxon was there when he said that thing. Atu Roxon, Dr. Abed Kiche, and Dr. Malon Nate. He said he never believed he would live up to 70 years because of the things he went through and certain things he's seen and the revolution he went through. But when he was 70 years old, he said, "Oh, God loves him." Another thing he said, which was very interesting, very ironic, was that he said he never wanted to outlive his mother. He didn't want to die before his mother died, because the mother became his mother, his father, his auntie, and everything. And so I was not surprised at all when not long after the mother died. It's like some certain things we wish there's a way to come. But coming back to Jerry, Papa J was somebody who was a people's person, and he could go down the drain like he said. I can never forget as a young man when the boys fell in the pit in Akotolante. And he went into the pit in Akotolante. And our family members there, I've preached in that edifice, so I know what it is. He went into the pit and was able to rescue some of those children, even carry some of the dead ones out. And that is a sign of a leader. I think that we should learn as a people to be humble. We should remember our humble beginnings. Remember where God has picked us from. And we should not be so big. Politicians, we should not be so big to forget that where we are now, people have been there before. It doesn't matter how long we stayed. After all the 19 to 20 years that Papa J stayed, today he's no more. But Ghanaians, let us not wait for people to die before we celebrate them. If you go to some other part of the world, there are two leaders that in Ghana that people always remember. President Kwame Nkrumah and President Rawlings. Yes. And I say this with a lot of apology to most of our leaders, because one of the greatest we've had to now, who is a statesman today we can never forget about, is President Kafui. Of course, President John Mahama is going for election again, so I have to be very careful not to look as if I'm doing campaign here. But the most important thing is that Rawlings became a factor. The Hungarian ambassador came here, and all he wanted was to go and meet Rawlings. Because he said when his father was in Morocco as an ambassador, he was a young man. That was when Papa J came into power. And they look at the policies, and you won't believe how many foreign dignitaries, like Riley said, want to meet Papa J. Please let me use this medium to say we congratulate you and the family. We pray that God keep you all safe. Nana Kunadwa Jiman Rawlings and all the young ones, 3 beautiful ladies and 1 gentleman who looks like him. In fact, nobody can tell you are not his sperm. You are. He looks, he is a spitting image of his father.
A very family man. Yeah. You forgot to ask something about his humor.
Yes.
You know, the Aremeyaw.
Original.
And he makes us laugh. The last one thing I can remember, when the current chairperson of the Electoral Commission decided to put together a committee of eminent persons to advise. The chief man was supposed to go on that day, and I couldn't. He wasn't there, so I was the one who was called to quickly go there. At the end of it, they were requesting members who were there to maybe some observations, here and there, and we all kept quiet. And so the MC took the mic. Then she called him directly, Papa J.
Yeah. He liked it.
So, Papa J. And then she took the mic to him. When she took the mic, he took hold of the mic and then left his seat and walked straight to this other priest, female priest, who had been also invited to the Electoral Commission. Yeah. I think he's very fond of her because I found her in his house before. Yeah. I can't remember her name. Is this Anglican Reverend Minister, the lady who also has been invited to serve on the Electoral Commission. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
It's nice. Yes, very nice. Yes. So he took the mic directly to her. Why he took it to her, I don't understand. But I know he's very fond of her. They have a certain kind of relationship. Then he walked back to as he was walking back to his seat, then he said, "I don't want to boom."
Don't give me the microphone to boom.
He said, "I don't want to boom." And we all broke into laughter. And that was one of the moments I can remember, very well. I mean, these are gestures sometimes, break the ice, make people feel comfortable around you. And so when you go to his house, that's some of the things. He will just say something for you to, you think he's somebody who is so strict, you are afraid of him. Then he will make you feel, there's this young lady, this journalist, I always am surprised how she got him so relaxed. Nana Banamwa. She interviewed him, and I was amazed. I said, what trick did this young lady used to really get this man so relaxed, comfortable, cracking the jokes with her? And it was so beautiful. And the last thing, he was directing traffic. I think he was traveling somewhere. And the young people there were so amazed, they were excited. Papa we Papa J, and you said it, you heard it in the video. And then he was, you stop that, stop, no, stop. And then you come, and they could not but to obey. You see, that kind of nobility of leadership, that your presence alone. You see, when you are a leader, you have to be very, very careful that you must be the type that your presence alone does not send fear, not fear, but respect. That the young people will say, "Oh, the man is here, so let's be disciplined." But if you are the type who no one or respect, your presence that not exude any confidence and respectability. Yeah. So please, all young people of today, I'm using this opportunity. You want to be a king. You want to be a president of our country. Be careful what you are doing today. Careful what you are doing today.
I wrote a tribute for him when he died. And for some reason, his secretariat decided to publish a tribute. So it was published in both the Graphic and the Times and most of the dailies. And I said, in life, people are given different responsibilities, but some are fit in every pair of shoes that they are given in. They are fathers when they should be fathers, friends when they should be friends, and of course authority when they should be authority. And I said that in that situation, Papa J knows how to turn it around. I'm saying this thing, and I want to emphasize again, we should not wait for people to die before we celebrate them. Yeah. Because as a preacher of the gospel, I've heard people read tributes, and you can tell this is exaggeration. If you are not in good spirit with the person, you are not in good relationship with the person, and the person dies. I went to a funeral of my very good friend in Tetteh, a very prominent man in Ghana, and when we were reading the tribute, the wife woke up and asked that, is it about my husband? What all of you are saying this is not right. So let us thank God for the life of Papa J. Yeah. And I want to say, may his soul rest in peace. Yes. I want to say we love him, and just as we love all the leaders, but we should remember that we all have a responsibility that one day we will die, and what the people say after our death matters.
Yeah, that was the video of what Sheikh was talking about. But before we jump off this subject, you, as a reverend, you hear things that people will not say in public. You hear admissions of guilt and confessions. Did you ever hear from President Rawlings any regrets about things that happened when during the 79 time and then the PNDC time? People disappeared, families were torn apart, people suffered loss of their parents and their relatives. Did you hear any sense of, wow, I wish this hadn't happened?
Okay,
really
let me tell you something that is more personal than you can imagine. My father-in-law is Yipi Saki, Emmanuel Piasa Saki. My father-in-law ended up in the UK. Barbara's father, the woman I'm married to's father, my wife is the firstborn, because of the revolution. He was the head of the Swaraj Motors. He owned the Swaraj franchise. He was a very wealthy man. And when finally he decided to come back to Ghana, I had married Barbara. And I went to sit down with them for the reconciliation. No, anybody can quote me on this. E.P. Saki and President Rawlings' reconciliation, I was the one who brokered it. And that day he said a lot of people misled him. He said a lot of people pushed him into things he shouldn't have been to. And he's sitting back now, he said he lost a lot of friends that from hindsight, and sitting back now, he realized they were the ones that genuinely loved him. He said in leadership, and this you can quote me, he said in leadership, you come across the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yipi Saki, who is my own father-in-law, so this way anybody at all can quote me. Yipi Saki, originally come from Amano Chrome. The grandfather was the founding member of Accra Academy. They were diplomats and things. The Sakis originally were supposed to be Sechis. Now, so when the first Saki was going to London, they didn't pronounce the name well or they didn't spell it well. That's why it became Saki. Otherwise, it's supposed to be Sechis. So Barbara is Barbara Saki. Papa J had people in his life that he felt he should have reconciled with them. And look at the last days of Papa J. Wasn't it very ironic that he and President Danado became friends? That should tell you that people change. People come to understanding. You see President Danado Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Nana Konado Agyeman Rawlings dancing on the same field. This was something we could never have imagined many years past. And that is why I keep saying that we should give ourselves room not to hold people to their past, but give people the chance to reform. So I think that Papa J, at his dying stage, changed. And for those of us who had the privilege to know him, to relate to him, you realize that sometimes he needed a company. I told you when I went with Pastor Two Roxon here, Pastor Malonate and Dr. Abekiche, and went to the house, that day he realized that he needed to come out. We sang, and every song and hymn, I didn't even know that that were some of the last days he was going to leave. And so I wished I had known we were going to be talking about this today. I would have brought the tribute I read for him. I wrote a very detailed tribute, and the dailies really published it. So on the day we're burying him, on all the center pages of Graphic Times and some of the papers, my tribute was there. And I think they like my choice of word. But I want to say once again, may the soul of the departed rest in peace. And may the same God that has kept him and brought him to Ghana bless us. But whatever mistake it is that Papa J did, let's learn from it. Whatever he did that was not right, whatever he did that was good, we should learn as much as possible as a people to not only celebrate people when they are dead, we should celebrate them when they are living.
All right, great stuff here. We'd love to know your memories as we think back to the life and times of President Jerry John Rawlings, whose birthday is today, 22nd of June. He would have been 76 years old. Today, this is GTV Breakfast. My name is Kafui Day. My guest, Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tetteh, Sheikh Aremeyaw, Shaibu. You are watching on Facebook, GTV Ghana, and our WhatsApp number is 055-556-1034. Let's go to Kumasi now because there are some issues happening there. Tricycle riders are not happy with KMA. What is the Mangana? We shall find out. Check this out.
Both mainly Aboboya and rickshaw, also referred to in Ghana as pragia, are fast becoming the dominant and alternative means of transport in the Kumasi metropolis, while Aboboya is becoming the preferred mini cargo truck of traders to cart their wares from the points of purchase to transport terminals. Pragia serves the urgent needs of some intra-city commuters who find it ready to go because the riders are able to go to virtually every nook and cranny. However, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly KMA finds their increasing presence in the city centre uncomfortable. 2 weeks ago, the Assembly issued a directive to restrict the movement of these smaller vehicles in the metropolis because they pose challenges including congestion. The Public Relations Officer of the KMA, Madam Henrietta Kunedo Abuaji, explained to GBC News what informed the Assembly's directive.
The Central Business District is going through phases of development, and that has also come with a bit of constraint to the city. And so we are practicing what we call the on-street stations and terminals. So you realize that if you come to the CBD and you are going to Ejeso and all that, you see two buses or trotro at a point, those going to Atonsu, those going to Chronom, those going to Buakwa. So we are practicing it more so that everybody can get access. And then you have the influx of this tricycle all over our city. And then the Transport Subcommittee also saw the menace and the nuisance which they are creating within the Central Business District. That is how come they tabled that proposal. And they've been able to argue for why it should or why the activities should be restricted within the Central Business District.
But the directive, whose enforcement has been delayed from the original date of Thursday, June 15, 2023, to allow for consultation with stakeholders, has not found favor with the Aboboya and Pragia riders. Patrons of these tricycles do not support the restriction either. However, the Public Relations Officer of the KMA, Madam Henrietta Kunedo Abuaji, explained that the commercial tricycles are not being banned completely from operating in the metropolis.
We are saying that you can operate anywhere in Kumasi, but just that you cannot come to the Central Business District. I think that the city or the administration of Honorable Samopine has been fair enough to say that don't come at all to Kumasi, but you can to a certain point.
Some members of the public, including the KMA's revenue officer at the Efia Kobi Market, Mr. John Salifu, are also pleading with the Assembly to reconsider its directive to reduce antisocial activities of the youth in the city.
Tricycle trouble in the Garden City. This is a planning issue, is it not?
It's even beyond planning.
It's beyond planning. Is it spiritual?
You know,
Africans always thought I was spiritual.
I'm even not even going to spiritual yet. Bible says where foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? Psalm 11 verse 3. Sheikh, most of these young men or young women, there it be, who are driving the tricycles don't have any training. So that alone makes you unruly. Anything you do, if they have license and they've been trained properly, and there's a system that trains them, they will even know where to park. Because you realize that most of the accidents that are caused these days are caused by them. Yeah. Even on the motorway, in some places, and you go to those of us who go to Kumasi a lot now, that sometimes they can be a nuisance. but they must be trained. Anybody who drives a tricycle or a three-legged must first go through some form of training. When you are trained, you know where to park, where not to park, and if you have to go. Then, we've been to India, and Sheikh, I don't know if you've been to India, but I've been to India. Or we've been to some part of Lagos, and you realize that the training is very, very important. When we get them trained, then the planning aspect works out. Because whether we like it or not, our streets are narrow anyway. We became very stingy like the British. We did very narrow roads when we have the space to have broadened our roads. And so we don't even have place where we have bus lanes. Even Britain that has narrow road, they have bus lanes, they have cycle lane, they have places that the bicycle goes, the motor goes and things. So it makes everything work in unison. So I think what we need is, yes, planning, but the training aspect is very important. Until people get license, and you'll be surprised, because they don't have the license, they don't even know their rules and where to stop and how to be disciplined. And that is why we have this biggest problem. So I think it must start with the training. The training, people who drive the tricycles must be licensed for that. They must go through certain form of training and test. They must understand why they drive tricycle, the do's and don'ts, and that will help keep a lot of the chaos we are seeing.
The training is important. My son is 18, and his mother promised him that when he gets to 18, he will learn how to drive. But nobody's teaching how to drive. He's going to drive in school. And I'm always monitoring him. This week I asked him, what have you learned? Have you gone on the road? He said, no, we're in the classroom. We're learning about regulations, street signs, all of that. They're going to do all of that before they actually hit the street and start doing the movements with a car that is equipped to teach people how to drive. People need to learn how to do this.
Very important.
It's not a Takashi Buga Buga.
And then the lives and the accidents, there are a lot of Sheikh, a lot of accidents we have in Ghana are very needless. Because we don't know who has the right of way. Anytime my children and wife and some of my siblings come back to Ghana, they get frustrated. It's like you're in a circle, they don't know who has the right of way, give way to traffic on the left or give way to traffic on the right, and people think they have the right. A lot of ambassadors in this country and a lot of expatriates in this country go through a lot of accidents because sometimes they think, this is not what's supposed to be. But the issue is training. And I must say, it's not their fault. I was driving in Ghana before I left. When I went to Europe, I failed 3 times. I failed the driving test in London 3 times. The painful thing is that at the time I failed, Barbara and I went to do it. She passed the first day because she was disciplined. But there are a lot of things I had to put together. It's shaping. By the 3rd time I was going again, I knew that I need to comport. I don't have to take my life. I need to do a 6-way check. I need to do a 3-way check. I need to know exit. I need to know stop. I need to know how to wave and all these things.
Indiscipline was taken out of
me. It was taken out of me. Yes, because I needed the test. And the embarrassment is that my fiancé at that time has gotten a license. Anytime saying, how did it go? I said, no.
Did she tease you?
No, she did. She said, so and then to think that at that time she was advising me, and then take your time. You know to drive. I was champion. If I was driving her still at that time, because remember those days you can still drive, but you need a license before you can get your insurance and certain things. And so I learned my lessons, and please let us learn the driving well. The recklessness in our accident space, in our driving space in Ghana, is because we don't have the right license. And people go and just pay something and then take the license and they miss it. And we are putting people's life at risk. One of the things I want us to do, Sheikh, one of these is that let's talk about road recklessness. Because we need to learn in order for us to be fit for the end. We are making people lose great family lives. Breadwinners and leaders and people who are supposed to be motivating families are losing their life because of our recklessness. I learned my lesson in Great Britain.
So planning and then driving
rules.
Yes, rules and regulations. Yes. What's happening in Kumasi is just a reflection of what's happening around.
Yeah, I think some of these things, when they begin and we don't tackle them headlong, you see, it balloons. Then it becomes a social problem. So now the people are telling you, it's just like other issues that we are dealing with. You are unemployed. You may go school. You may didi. You see, when it starts small and you don't tackle it, Because the young people are there plenty, they want something to do. And one of them is saying that, now, mostly Yambahwa,
if we don't come, where should we go?
He said,
that's where the business is.
Exactly. That's where when I go,
I get my business.
I get something to be able to fend for myself. So I think probably before arriving at this decision, a lot of probably preparatory work should have been done. And also to explain very well to the understanding. Sometimes the good intentions behind a particular policy need to be well communicated. It is not out of hate. It's not the intention is not to take away your food from you, but sometimes even let the person understand that, look, it's for your own good that I'm taking this decision. If you're able to get him, and then the alternatives must be such that it's so assuring that, look, if I deny you here, I push you here, you will still be able to make it happen. So I think the management there need to sit down and engage very well and let's see. It's like the onion sellers who were being ejected from the court of confrontation between the regional minister and the onion sellers. Had to be going back and forth before finally they were removed from the place. And now I think that they are comfortable wherever they have found themselves now. Ajon Kotoku, and then a section is also on the Takwadi Road.
Exactly.
Find them there now, a very large place. Yeah. I think they are comfortable.
Okay.
And so now around Abosokai, a bit relieved of the crowding and so on. So let's hope that we don't create any social upheaval from this.
Okay. Quick one before I deal with another story. So this will interest you, especially Dr. Tetteh, since you come from a chiefly background. So 3 traditional rulers have called for a constitutional review to empower chiefs to contribute more meaningfully to the development of Ghana. They say that the country is unable to deal effectively with development challenges, including the war against Galamsey, because chiefs seem marginalized in governance issues. So these were traditional rulers who made the call. They were president of the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs, Nene Sakite II, president of the Central Regional House of Chiefs, Odefo Amuakwa Buedu VIII, and the Osuga Wulomo, who is also the acting president of the Osu Traditional Council, Numo Gbelinfo III. So they were speaking at an event under the theme Reviewing Ghana's 1992 Constitution, Viewpoints of the National House of Chiefs. The chiefs want more power. They think that they are being marginalized and they need to be clothed with the desired power and resources to promote national cohesion. Do you agree or disagree?
I have no choice but to agree. 2 of them are directly related to me. The secretary said, last month I just dedicated his book. He's a professor. He's a very astute academic. And Nomogbelenfo is my uncle in Osu. So that's my mother's cousin. And so these are people who are very, very, very astute and very balanced. Nomogbelenfo is somebody who, apart from the fact that he's a Wolomo, is very, very open-minded and very balanced man. And I think it is true. It's about time we empower our traditional rulers, except for the fact that we shouldn't be extreme. And sometimes we go to the extreme so much and we lose the very essence of the presence. But we should be able to empower them. Church, traditional leaders, and political leaders must work together. Religion, as a matter of fact, religious leaders, traditional leaders, and politicians must work together. And that is how we can get a better nation. Because we all have our places. There are areas that only the religious leaders can reach, that the traditional leaders cannot reach. There are places that only the traditional leaders can reach, where we cannot reach. But if we come together in what I call a united front, we can do it. So many times the politicians hijack everything, and I think that's where they miss it. Politicians cannot reach out better than myself and Sheikh here can reach out. You know why? Their position is transient. But the position for the chiefs, our traditional leaders, and the position for the clergy or the religious leaders seem to linger longer. And so it's very important that their place is really respected.
Okay. Sheikh.
Oh yeah, I think I was there. I was there, and I associated myself with the idea of a second chamber, because I think that once chieftaincy is respected and recognized as a leadership institution in our country, that in fact that antedates our colonial system. It means always we have seen that there's a need for leadership. To have a political system or a governance system that throws completely out of the system the chiefs, I think it's not fair. We must have a system where their influence is felt as part of the governance system without making them political. That one is very, very important. So let's have a certain level where, because they are also the repositories of our tradition and cultural wisdom. Yeah, so that sacredness that they carry can also be brought, so that we can see that influence also. So that, you see, when there is a certain decision to be taken, they will not think more along political lines, because they care more about the community which they have inherited. It's part of their heritage. Can you imagine any of the Ga chiefs who wants that all Ga values should be wiped off, or all Ga heritage should? The Ga kingdom will remain until the day that God decides that all living beings should go off the surface of the earth. And that, you see, so it means that they are there always for the people. But like he said, politicians come, for a short period of time, and they go away. When they are going away, they go away with whatever they have had, and they silently sit somewhere. But the chiefs who will still be there. So I think that let's not have a system that throws them out completely as if they are not relevant.
All right.
In a very active manner,
okay,
so that when decisions are taken, they will be the balancing element. They will be the balancing element. They will bring the issue of the values and our ethics, so that if the government is doing something that is wrong, they will not all the time pander to the wishes of the government. They will have the courage to say, look,
don't go here.
You get Asantehini, Tobe Afede, and the Nene here.
Yes.
And the
Sakite. They all call us Minananom.
My grandchildren.
My grandchildren.
Yes.
So they care. So if you are taking the wrong decision on grounds of political expediency, not in the long-term interest, they will have the courage and say, no, we disagree. In fact, they can tell you, we disagree, and they come with an alternative that you can consider.
Awesome.
If you take them out, like the Galam say, of course, I mean, great respect for our chiefs. We've been told some of them are complicit.
Coincidentally, I don't know how it is. I was not here, but when I was in the UK, the two people that I really got called from Nene Sakite and Numubelefo. Yes, it's also, so when I hear from them today, now I must say they were very encouraging. They were very encouraging.
Yeah, I was there, and I think it was.
And Nene Sakite wrote a book on religion, culture, and tradition.
Okay.
And I was privileged to be the one to launch the book for him.
For the copy.
And I'll get you a copy. And Numubelefo currently is the one who's holding the fort for us in my mother's lineage. My mother is half Assyrian and half Usu, but Numugbelinfo is the one who is acting for them, because remember, we have 3 young men who are all the chiefs now, and so he's the one who's been able to be the acting president, and we just thank God for his life. And he's a very disciplined man.
Awesome.
A man who is...
Hashtag GTV Breakfast. It's 22nd June 2023. Let's flip away from church issues, chieftaincy issues, Pragia issues. I hear Pragia is happening in Cape Coast. They are moving around in the night like witches, That Ajeto running around that light. How can you move around with that light? Cape Coast Pragia. No training. It's a message from one of our viewers. Thank you very much for that alert. We need to go to Cape Coast and check it out for ourselves as well. But yeah, that night movement, which movement if I stop? So Ata. Much more fantastic. All right, now let's do some news closer to home, where we are right now, because the National Labour Commission is taking to the courts to enforce a directive against the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission over some deductions of allowances, illegal deductions of allowances of GBC workers in their May 2023 salaries. The Labour Commission announced this decision during a second sitting on the GBC and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission case. This is a report by Gifty AJ.
Following the GBC and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission's impasse over the deductions of some allowances, the matter was referred to the National Labour Commission for redress by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. At the Labour Commission almost 3 weeks ago, the commissioners ruled that, with immediate effect, all the allowances unilaterally removed from the pay slips of GBC workers must be restored. Those whose salaries were further deducted must be refunded, and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission providing the enabling platform where the Commission can negotiate with both the divisional and senior staff unions of GBC. The Commission again asked both GBC and the Fair Wages and Salaries to appear for the second time today, June 21, 2023. At exactly 11 a.m. as stated by the Commission. However, there was no official from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to represent it. At exactly 2 p.m. after 3 hours of waiting, the commissioners had no choice but to call the case. At the Commission, a case was made that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission had not enforced the directive of the National Labour Commission per the previous sitting, and that validation for June's salaries, although ending tomorrow, has revealed that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has not restored the deductions made in the month of May, and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has also made the same deductions for the month of June. Without the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission making an appearance at the National Labour Commission and also not implementing the directives from the Commission, the National Labour Commission ruled that it is sending the case to court for its directives to be enforced. In the meantime, workers of GBC were asked to refrain from any form of industrial action. In an interview with GBC News, the General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, PSWU, Mr. Bernard J, expressed his disappointment over the behavior of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission.
Of course, we are talking about people's lives, people's salaries, and what they are taking home, and people are working, and the reason for which they are paid certain allowances. So, of course, I'll not be happy. I'm not happy, and it's not right. It's a shame to us all, also because we've all worked hard to build the industrial relations system that we have. It was not like this, but we've improved upon it. So it's quite sad to see a state institution behaving like this. But we can only hope that the other social partners who are also very much aware of this will also do the needful. We have done our part, and we are satisfied that we've done our part.
As it stands now, the fate of workers of GBC hangs in the balance. Gifty AJ, GBC News, Accra.
And I've been joined by the Divisional Union Chairman of the GBC. His name is Sam Nat Kevo. Mr. Chairman, good morning. Welcome to the show. Break it down for the ordinary GBC worker. What is the issue?
No, the issue is about the stoppage of allowances that GBC workers have been enjoying for more than 30 years.
Who stopped the allowances?
Fair Wages and Salary Commission wrote to Accountant General Department to stop those salary allowances that GBC, both unionized and the management union, are enjoying.
Do they have the power?
They don't have the power to do it, but they have a law that they negotiate with. What do they do? Before they negotiate with the union, organized labor, they normally seek financial mandate from Ministry of Finance. When they finish the negotiation with the workers or any particular institution, the same fair wages will write to the Ministry of Finance for approval. When the Ministry of Finance approve of that negotiated monument, the Ministry of Finance would then write to Controller Accountant General Department for the payment. What is intriguing and strange on this aspect is that the Fair Wages and Salary Commission did not even route the letter through the Ministry of Finance. They only wrote through to Controller Accountant General Department. So based on that, the union got alarmed, and the labor law is explicit on that. At 105 clause 4, said that something that you negotiated, if I have a negotiation with you, and later on you realize that it is not in your favor or there's something wrong with it, you cannot unilaterally vary it. You must come back to the negotiation table.
Indeed.
To do that.
Did they tell GBC why they were stopping these allowances?
They said they are not on-end allowances, because there are two separate allowances. These allowances are category 2 and 3 core and non-core allowances. Mostly these are allowances that are common to most of the public sector workers, like entertainment allowance, vehicle maintenance allowance, height allowance, tools allowance. These are allowances that are common to most of the public sector workers. So that is negotiated at the umbrella of the Standing Joint Negotiation Committee.
What level of staff was affected by this decision?
A whole lot of staff. Kafui, what made it, well, the trauma that this directive sent to the workers, unaware, it happened. So when it happened, people cannot even pay back their loans. They have a scheduled payment that they do. They've defaulted. This month too, they have repeated the same action.
The deduction has happened again?
Exactly.
So 2 months deduction?
2 months deduction. So they are defaulted in repayment of their loans to their various bankers.
How many workers here have been affected, if you should do your computation?
Look, there are more than 1,000. There are more than almost everybody that have been affected. The only allowances that, if you are not having a car, you cannot enjoy the car maintenance, vehicle maintenance allowance. So the Fair Wages and Salary Commission now complained to Labour Commission, because the union now take a decision that we are undergoing a series of industrial actions. So they complained to the Labour Commission. Labour Commission invited the union. We appeared before them. Then a directive came. 3 formats of directives. First, the Labour Commission established that fair wages acted unilaterally is against the law. So they should reverse that decision immediately. That's what the directive says. Then the union, you must also now down the red flag. You see, there was a lot of red flags over here.
Indeed.
And then you must also take off any idea of going on industrial action.
Have the red flags been downed?
Yes.
Okay.
We held it thereby. And the decisions are not taken by the union executive alone. It's a consistent body. And GBC union is well-grounded union. We understand the nitty-gritty and we are law-abiding. So after that, the day we held it thereby, it was difficult to convince our members because they suspect that fair wages will not be acting in good faith.
And were there suspicions?
That they will not take the directive.
Okay.
Or they will not implement the directive.
All right.
And they have been proved right. So yesterday, the two parties had to meet before reporting to Labour Commission.
Fair wages and then the GBC union.
And they couldn't meet because they have not honored their part of the directives.
Which is to
reverse
the deductions.
They couldn't do it. So yesterday when we appeared before the Labour Commission, strangely fair wages failed to appear to the Commission without any even reasons why they couldn't come.
So what's the next step now?
The next step is that the Labour Commission is empowered by the Labour Law at 172, where when they give directives and to any interested party or group and they fail to act on it, the Labour Commission and that at 172 will go to court for the enforcement.
Have they gone to court?
It was yesterday that that decision was made. So we hope, and we hope, fervently hope, that that decision, going to court, should be done today. But you see, such an organization like Fair Wages should be acting in such impunity.
Okay.
Kafui, you and I, some perception about what organized labor is that they are, excuse me to use this word, buga buga people. They don't obey the law.
Are you?
But yes, Can you imagine that we have followed due process in this matter? And Fair Wages decided not to follow the law. Will anyone be faulting ordinary worker of GBC whose wealth has been worsened off?
Does that mean the red flags are coming back?
No, Kafui, it's not in my mouth. We will meet our constituent body. They mandate us what to do. They give us the directions. We are just servants to them.
So if they say red flag and strike?
Kafui, we are hoping that Fair Wages with this court issue will do the needful. Even our meeting with management with the fair Wages, they admitted that yes, GBC, for the car maintenance allowance, they are qualified to take it. But they kept quiet. They can't come out with that publicly. Knowing that you have violated the law, if your attention is being drawn, do you need to go to any court or a court to ask you to enforce it? If with any other jurisdiction, this man would have been asked to resign.
Is it true that GBC workers cannot go on strike?
Nobody on this world under the 19th Constitution say you cannot go on strike. It is a right.
Will you go on strike?
It's a fundamental right that if demonstration, strike are fundamental human rights of any individual or workers or any organized people when they are not happy with any decision, anything that has been taken against them.
What are your members telling you?
We're going to meet them. They are not happy.
Okay.
Only yesterday when you came, some of them started singing this film. We told you so. That Fair Wages will not honor the obligation. So we'll meet them. We will meet them. We are law abiding. But union, we will meet our members and you will hear from us.
What are the timelines?
The timeline meeting?
Yes.
It will be very soon, pretty soon.
Today?
We don't want to unveil some of these.
Maybe I'll ask a question.
Because the anxiety of workers are so high, are so depressed. Kafui, some of our workers, they walk to GBC. They get down at, if you are familiar, Cocoa Clinic.
And then walk here.
And walk here. Is it a crime to work in GBC, a state broadcaster? GBC play a pivotal role when it comes to democratic dispensation of this country. And workers of this organization should not be treated as if they are criminals. And we are just saying, we are watching. We are learning from what Fair Wages is doing. And we are fast students. When we learn the antics that they are playing, I think Ghanaians should appreciate us. Thank you very much.
That's Mr. Sam Nat Kevo, Divisional Chairman of the union, right here at GBC. And we will keep you updated with how this issue progresses. You're watching #GTV Breakfast. We'll be back after this. I'm back here on my seat. Mr. Kevo is gone, but my guests are here. Dr. Tetteh, what do you make of what's going down? Fair Wages, Labour Commission, GBC.
The labor force should not be taken for granted. And as a matter of fact, I keep saying this thing, we should not use our position to victimize people. The sensitivity of what we are talking about is very important. The fact that somebody else is not getting it doesn't mean we are in the same category. We should know how to look at the categories and how we enhance them. The work that GBC does, and I'm happy I'm here myself, how some of you get up as early as 4 a.m. to come and sit here. There are certain privileges that should not be denied of you. And so whoever is in charge at the Fair Wages, they must be sensitive to the situation so that we don't escalate a similar situation that can be handled well. And once again, don't use your position to victimize people. Don't take a unilateral decision and think that is right. You cannot put everybody in the same box. There must be exceptions. And of course, there are a lot of people who are taking certain exceptions that don't look at the number of people who are using certain Land Cruisers and how many free fuels and things. And some of those privileges, when it comes to the national state broadcaster, I even take exception on behalf of GBC. And having said that, Hilda Ashi, who is with Fair Wages, just celebrated her 60th birthday. So happy birthday, Hilda.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Tetteh. Sheikh.
Reverend has said it all.
Yes.
So let me not spoil the beauty of what he has said. Let me quickly take this advantage. You know, the Eid al-Adha is approaching fastly, and on Wednesday we are going to celebrate.
Yes, it's
we
holiday.
are confronted with the spread of anthrax.
Yes, yeah, 97 animals died from anthrax in Upper East.
A delegation from combined team from the Veterinary Service, Minister of Health, Ghana Health Service visited the Chief Imam to bring to his attention this and what we all need to do. The messages have gone. Chief Imam has caused the talking points to be sent to all regional imams and to take advantage of all Muslim social gatherings and to educate. There's a ban on movement of cattle from the northeast part of our country. They talk of Binduri and some other aligning districts there. At the time they told us 1 person had died, 13 people have been infected, and then 85 cows had died at the time. And so our duty is to call on the Muslim community to really cooperate and make sure that we don't use unapproved routes to transport those animals down here. If it goes out of hand, we want to celebrate in health, in good health. We must survive in order to be able to really celebrate and to give glory to God.
Indeed.
And so the risk is what we are all talking about. So if you see any animal so emaciated, please don't buy any emaciated animal. Any sick animal, report to the Veterinary Service. If you see a sudden death of an animal, quickly report. If as a person you begin to experience certain symptoms like sweating, like feeling feverish, vomiting, and so on and so forth, quickly let the health authorities know so that we don't get caught up.
And this is important because slaughtering of animals is very central to this festival.
In fact, this festival is where we slaughter.
Exactly. I'm glad you've drawn our attention to this, and I just want to end with this back page report. I wonder why it's on the back page of the graphic. It should really be on the front page. So a total of 97 animals have died as a result of anthrax in the Upper East region. 12 out of the 15 districts in the region recorded dead animal cases suspected to be anthrax. Binduri district dominated with 38 deaths, Garo district 17, Boku West district 13, Bongo district, Bolga municipal and Talense district 8, 6 and 5 cases respectively. Garo Tempani 4 cases. Boku municipal, Bulsa North and Pusika districts each recorded 2 cases. And then Kasina Nankana municipal and Bongo 1 each. Sheep are the most affected, recording 53, cattle 35, goats and pigs 5 and 2 respectively. After a laboratory test at the Pong Tamale Veterinary Lab, only 6 of the districts reported positive cases. And this is according to the Veterinary Services Directorate. And the affected districts are Binduri, Talensi, Bongo, Boku West District, Bolga Municipal, and Kasina Nankana. So a couple of messages are being put in place, and this is very important. You need to know what is happening. So 100,000 doses of vaccines have been distributed to all the districts in the region as of yesterday. Additionally, 100,000 doses of vaccine under production by the Central Vet Lab are scheduled for distribution by next week. All 13 districts had so far had their animals vaccinated, totaling 23,449 animals. Binduri had the highest number of doses, 9,485 animals being vaccinated, followed by Talensi with 7,141 animals. Boku West District, Bolga Municipal, Bongo District, 2,900, 2,400, 1,100 vaccinated in total. In total, a total of 8,189 cattle, 7,819 goats, 6,913 sheep, 528 pigs have been vaccinated. And I want to end by saying that they are basically telling you that you should be aware of the signs and symptoms of the disease, and you are advised not to consume carcasses of animals that you find that are dead. Okay, so this is really, really important. There's been a ban on the movement and slaughter of livestock in the affected areas, as well as mass vaccination of livestock, sheep, goats, cattle, and pigs in all affected areas. All right, so be very, very vigilant. Make sure that the meat that you're consuming is inspected and issued with a certificate by the Veterinary Services Department. So thank you so much. And thank you very much for averting my attention to that. Sheikh Aremeyaw Shaibu speaks to the National Chief Imam. Barka de Salah in advance.
Yeah,
and my regards to the old man.
Thank you
we
so
owe
much.
him a visit. Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tetteh.
We are looking forward to the meeting.
We are grateful for the meet. Thank you
Let
so
me
much.
say,
gentlemen.
God bless you all, and let's pray for Ghana. Sheikh, let's pray that this thing will be successful, that God will preserve Ghana, that there will be a lot of religious harmony, and there will be peace with the religious leaders, with the traditional leaders, and with the political leaders, that Ghana will enjoy peace. God bless you all. And to the family of Rollins, may his soul rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Small prayer for GBC also.
Father, we also pray for GBC. We pray that, God, you give them the wisdom, you give them the tenacity, and that even as they go about their issues now, that GBC will be blessed. We also bless exceptionally Professor Amin, the Director General, that you give him the boldness of David, the wisdom of Solomon, and let your will be done in the life of this community. And for all of us who come and drink from GBC and GTV, that God will bless this state broadcaster and take it higher. Amen.
Thank you very much. Amen. Amen. My name is Kafui Day from Kanda. We are keeping an eye straight on the curious case of the malfunctioning traffic lights at Awoshi Barnyard. To tell the story, here comes Jay Gabra.
Thank you so much. So in the city of Accra, there are a number of malfunctioning traffic lights. The malfunctions range from inconsistent timing to total and complete blackouts. This causes a lot of chaos and confusion for a lot of motorists and pedestrians who use these routes. The consequences are quite severe. For instance, when the traffic lights are not working, in some cases it leads to accidents and affects vehicles which are involved, and it leads to some loss of life. We've been here at the Barnyard Awoshi traffic lights for some reports earlier, and for months now, I even here for over here, still the lights have not been worked on. You realize that where I am currently, you notice the lights are still completely off. When that happens, you notice, for instance, when the police are not here, it leads to vehicles who are using the main N1. They don't want to give way to those who are coming from the intersecting routes, and that's when it creates a lot of confusion for those who are trying to enter the main road. And this intersection is such that there are a lot of moving parts. So without the direction of the traffic lights, and especially the help of the police, then it creates, the situation becomes quite dire. So this morning, for instance, you see it's rush hour, a lot of vehicles moving in. And for the pedestrians, for instance, when they have to cross the road, you can see them standing in the middle over there. And now you can imagine, if the police aren't here and then they don't stop the vehicles, that will allow them to cross to the other side. Then they have to compete with the vehicles. When it happens like that, you can imagine if the police are not here, then the vehicles hit them, and it leads to some people will say the pedestrians were being negligent, and that's why the vehicles hit them and all. But you realize that is not the situation at all. There's a lot of moving traffic in this area, and we don't understand why for over a year now the traffic lights haven't been working. There are some Twitter users who have been coming up to my DM. They are like, Jay Gabra, the traffic light. And I tell them, oh, we've done some reports on it, but yet the situation has not been fixed. I even remember the MP for the area, Dixon Adomako Kisi, also complained about it to the Roads and Highways Minister, and up to now the problem hasn't been fixed. We don't know if it's beyond the authorities or what, but when it happens like that, especially at dawn and at night when the police are not here, that's when there are lots of dangerous situations. I have one driver here who would like to give us, boss, one morning. Patrol saying. Joseph, Patrol tie you see quite well now.
Quite with the high honor that we are Juma. Not by traffic light, almost by 2 years in it. There be a much accident in Quan sequence. I had yes, yes, I am penny for no. I'm a moment in on my mind, yeah, bread, yeah, bread, yeah, bread, and there be a my police for no credit man across my and crying. Was so much cinema 50. I bear 6 o'clock. I bear cinema to bear 8, 9. As an police for me, a police in Ukraine. I mean, a bob says I make Jack Raquatam baby. Because the area no, fast will be a not be a light in a oh. Yes, I'm here on my
Sir Joe, that's CPO. So that's one driver complaining about the fact that the lights haven't been working for close to 2 years now. And when you look at the situation, you realize that the police who are helping to direct the traffic, it's like if you were the one, he would have left the position a long time ago, because they have to be here the whole time to ensure that the cars move smoothly, there are no incidents. And he can understand how frustrating and tiring it is for the police who are helping direct the traffic, the wardens here who are helping to direct the traffic. I would like to draw your attention now to something else that impedes traffic flow when you get to the Awoshiban Yard intersection. Aside the fact that the traffic lights aren't working, some sections of the road are also in bad situation. So whenever it rains, for instance, it exposes the road. You notice that the potholes on this side of the stretch, for those who are coming from Malam, for instance, and they are turning into this area, that's when they have to go through this big pothole, and if you're not careful, it slows them down completely. So this is the situation they have to face now, and I believe the plea is quite simple. They are just calling on authorities to help them fix the traffic lights as soon as possible, whether it needs regular maintenance, if they need to do public amenities, but the fact that it needs immediate repair is quite significant. So the pothole in your short, which impedes the traffic for the vehicles. So to wrap up, I'll just say, if there's an emergency, for instance, and there has to be an ambulance that has to come to this area, you can imagine if the police are not here, how it would be a difficult situation for them to maneuver and get to this part of the road. The situation quite over here at Awoshiban Yard is quite we are praying that the authorities come and fix the situation as soon as possible. So this has been the report from the Awoshiban Yard intersection. Report on the more functioning traffic lights. Back to you in the studio.